I chose Professor Minerva McGonagall for my portrayal of teacher identity, as Professor McGonagall has qualities I hope to emulate as a future teacher. Professor McGonagall and I share similar aspects of our identity as well. Professor McGonagall is a character in the wildly popular Harry Potter book series. Professor McGonagall has many different facets to her identity, including being an animagus, someone who can transform into an animal. She is a half-blood witch, arguably the aspect of her identity that is the most defining. In the Harry Potter series, blood status and blood purists are used to represent racism and racists in the real world. 2 wars were fought on the foundation that purebloods are the superior race. McGonagall is a veteran, having fought with the Order of the Phoenix in both wars. She is a widow, assumed heterosexual. McGonagall is white, Scottish, and older. Professor McGonagall is viewed as an effective and extremely capable teacher. She is an expert in her field and is able to relate to students while still maintaining a stern disciplinarian role. As head of Gryffindor, she is able to build relationships more easily with students in her house. While the majority of her students are British, her Scottish heritage is not viewed as having an impact, positive or negative, in the books. Professor McGonagall has taught generations of students at Hogwarts, often having been the professor of her students' parents. This helps build a sense of community within the school. Professor McGonagall's status as a half-blood and supporter for equality are well known to her students. Her stringent beliefs hinder her in connecting with students from blood purist families. Despite her political beliefs, McGonagall maintains her professionalism and treats her students equitably, which can be seen when known bully and blood purist Draco Malfoy is being mistreated by another professor. McGonagall steps in and defends the student instead of ignoring the situation. If I was a professor in the Hogwarts community, I believe my role would be very similar to that of McGonagall. As it is a fictional world and a metaphor, there is no telling what my blood status would be, which would be an integral aspect of my identity in Harry Potter. Like McGonagall, I'm a white liberal woman. Our identities would similarly endear us to some students and alienate us from the others. I admire McGonagall's ability to build relationships with her students while maintaining a fair and structured classroom environment. Unlike McGonagall, I would attempt to keep my political beliefs more to myself so as to not make some students feel as if I have a bias. It is easier said than done, but I can see how some students did not feel welcome in her classroom. In the article, Indian Heart, White Man's Head, Native American Teachers in Indian Schools, Anne Ruggles-Gier discusses what schooling has meant to minority populations in the United States. Gier discusses how in turbulent political times, teachers are expected to take on a role beyond teacher and impart their moral influence on students. Looking at McGonagall through this lens, it is evident that her political stance was a human rights issue, and there's no telling whether she should have kept her beliefs to herself. In the issue of blood status, McGonagall was both targeted and dominant. As Beverly Daniel Tatum discusses in the article, The Complexity of Identity, Who Am I? There is no hierarchy of oppression. McGonagall was targeted as a half-blood witch and simultaneously dominant as a white, educated transfiguration expert. Professor McGonagall is an excellent example of a teacher who is knowledgeable, caring, structured, and effective. I hope to emulate these traits as I become a teacher.